Hello. It's work and life 4, I think. So I've woken up. Well, I woke up a long time ago. I just voted for Canada's federal election. So thinking of focusing on finally getting to do what I want to do, which is a video against myself. Video deciding one after the next one of the opposing or seeming opposing I guess ideologies of responsibility versus I guess acceptance of an outcome, or more kind of like rigid self-determination versus I guess I don't really know what to call the other one. Kind of, I wouldn't call it resignation, but kind of acceptance of circumstances. So this is I had to think about this a little bit beforehand so I can get myself in the right frame of mind. It is kind of hard because I'm the kind of person that the moment I think of a notion, I already have I come down on it with a counter position, a counter argument. So, like, at the conception of an idea, I'm already filled with doubt. That's the kind of person I am. Yeah, I'm the kind of person that once in a while will accidentally look at, let's say, a dandelion, and at the same time as looking at it, sometimes, rarely, I'll accidentally think, well, is it really there? I'll go up and touch it. I don't know, it's just, I think I've made a video once before where I mentioned sometimes how I overanalyze things sometimes to the point of just like being, like zoning out completely. I don't know. Over contemplative. I think that's how I should put it. So yeah, I'll probably really formally only begin this on the way home, because right now I was kind of thinking about when in elementary school our teachers would make us debate each other in English class, and I think this has to do with maybe why I find it hard arguing, trying to make a case for two different points, like arguing against myself, because in this kind of setup I need to, for a whole video, be completely biased. I have to only consider that one notion, the one ideology that I'm trying to defend, and just completely like overlook like its weaknesses. I only have to like pound on its strengths. And only in the following video can I take the completely reverse view and totally scrutinize the other point that I had previously argued, bring up strong propositions. So I want it to really look like, really follow through like a real debate. Because that's really what I don't like about debates. And I think that goes back to what we used to do in elementary school, where, you know, the typical trick that the teacher would do was ask people different opinions, and, you know, 2s and 4s for a certain, I guess, agenda or I guess discussion, and then depending on what points we brought up or what position we kind of took on a subject, she would put us in the opposite camp of what she could take was our position. If a kid seemed to be anti-abortion, she would put them on the pro-abortion side in the discussion, and you know, and vice versa. And now that I think of it, you know, back then, all the students just hated the teacher for it. I mean, it was just so hilarious. It just seemed so unfair that we would have to be so disingenuous to, you know, divorce ourselves from our own views, and, you know, it felt like we had to like think so hard to find out lies to support something that we were completely against. And now that I think of it, it seems to be I know, it's probably, maybe it's, I guess it's a cliche thing for teachers to do. It's not I've always heard teachers to do this in elementary school whenever there was debate, to put students in opposite camps, but I think it's a very good exercise, and I think maybe in the same way, this might be a very good exercise for me. Because it just forces you to look for ways that, like, as desperately as you can, to find out all the ways possible that something that you don't agree with could be possibly right. And I think that's, I guess, what we should always do. Alright, so I'm back on my way home. And, well, on my way to school on the metro, there was someone who was sitting not too far away from me, and I swear, looked exactly like Richard Dawkins. Now, I don't know, he looked like he was reading something. I don't know why Richard Dawkins would be in Montreal, but it's more likely than not that it's just someone who looks a lot like him. Okay, so, from that irrelevancy, I was thinking of starting this self-debate. And that's what I said before. That's why I don't like debates, is that, you know, you're going into them, and while a person in a debate might not be biased, you have to go into a debate completely biased. Like, you have to be biased at least for that debate. And it's because the goal of the debate is to defeat the opponent. It's a battle. You might be using reason, but it's reason for your own point. I mean, if you, like, you can't, like, normally in debate, you're not supposed to show weakness. And weakness is to say, you can't be questioning your own points, your own thesis in a debate. And that's what I don't like about it. Discussion should not be that kind of stigmatized argument. It should be people trying to discover new information, not starting at a conclusion and trying to defeat someone else with that conclusion. Okay, so I'm going to start with this with probably something that's an oversimplistic viewpoint to support notion like responsibility or self-determination, kind of strict will to accomplish. And yeah, well, just because it's so simple, it'll be easier to start off with that. The notion that sort of derived from the kind of argument for free will, not necessarily saying that free will in a kind of absolute sense exists. You know, I think it's a much better case to say that free will does exist, but not in the classical way that we consider it. I like how it's described by some existential authors, more as a kind of something that works within a system. It's a function. It's part of a system, but it's neither here nor there. Well, if it's not here, it is there, but not part of really what I want to talk about. So this notion is kind of like when neuroscientists who don't believe in free will say that, okay, well, free will doesn't exist, but we can't let people know that. So it's the idea that people that don't have a strong sense of responsibility, or people that are resigned or too content with this kind of I guess deterministic flow, will not function at their greatest capacity. This is the idea that people, if they want to perform well, they need to push themselves to perform well. They can't feel like they're being pushed around. So this isn't really a clear argument for perhaps well, I guess it does. It is a kind of an argument for the responsibility notion, but it's not really, I think, hitting at the core. It's more, I think it's more of a argument against the possibly complacent view of, you know, going with the flow or being satisfied with the consequences. In any case, yeah, I guess, yeah, I can talk about that, complacency. I recently posted a comment on one of Professor Anton's older videos talking about, I guess, possible source. You know, it's one of the videos that he has on his front page where I guess he's talking about the American problem, the problem that he sees to be most prevalent in American society. And it's a kind of, you know, unwillingness to take responsibility, and unwillingness of people who have so much to do anything that, you know, really changes things. It's kind of this individualistic, you know, consumer mentality that, you know, the most that I can do is really just go about my own business, buying the things I want to buy. And there's not, I don't know, there's not really anything wrong with that in and of itself, but when you're so afraid to drop that for a second and, I guess, struggle with really important matters like, you know, taking your country back, you know, not to use language that the Tea Party uses, but, you know, I really do think that, you know, people with heads on their shoulders should be facing their country's problems with the same or even more fervor than the Tea Party is. You know, people that want to take power back from, you know, the corrupt government, from the corporations. But I guess people are a bit complacent, and, you know, maybe to tie this back to me, you know, to the personal, because I am trying to look at this as a personal, but, you know, I think it's a personal thing. But I think it is good to bring this back and forth, I guess, between an individual's actions according to these ideals that I'm talking about, and I guess society as a whole. Because I think, you know, some of the most important things to understand apply all around the table. So what was I talking about? This was a real debate. I would not be in a very good position right now. Okay, well, I was kind of talking about problem, the American problem as Professor Anton took it. And I do think that's a problem. As I said in my comment, finish this video off because I seem to be kind of meandering. That's what I do sometimes. I said that I think this problem, I guess to put things in terms of how one of my more recent humanities teachers put it, is that despite the fact that we're, well, I live in a majority atheist society. I'm in Canada, and that is really where the first world is right now. It's not really with religion. A lot of Americans don't have the same kind of, I guess, viewpoint. Sometimes when I watch videos on YouTube, a lot of people that make videos are American, and people that type in forums and whatever. I get this. Well, I get the whole thing where they feel that they're surrounded by religious people. They feel alone, but when they get on the internet, they can unite with other people. And it's really. I guess it's the first time I came across it, I found it very interesting, because you don't get that where I live. It's a very, very small minority of religious people, with a vast majority of agnostic atheists. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Okay, so my humanities teacher, I think he was from the U.S., but he came to live in Canada. But what he had to say is that us being in a majority atheist society, and I can predict that the same thing will eventually happen to the U.S. People that have very secular worldviews tend to, in the West, like he was talking about the West compared to the East. We keep these ideologies that are very, very rooted in the religion of our society's past, and it stays with us. And because many of these ideologies and these kind of notions that we still have come from what one would say an irrational premise or an irrational institution. Many things that we take for granted and we still abide by, or we still keep in our head, these concepts and ideas, are irrational in and of themselves. They've become a part of our culture, and a part of our the many memes that our society carries. But and some of them have been appropriated and have been reasoned with, and can hold ground, but others, there's just real problems with it. And I think one of these is the problem of people not being self-determined enough, people not taking responsibility. And I do think that one of the factors, personally, from personal experience, I have the feeling that it comes from this thing that's it's all around, and Protestantism has kind of adopted this, but the long history of it really comes from the Roman Catholic institution of confession. The idea that every day you sin, and you necessarily have to sin and transgress, and then you come back to the confessional and you get forgiven, and you go off and then you sin again and you come back. It's a kind of eternal, I guess, moral defeat before God, and then God forgives you every day, which doesn't really make sense at all. And it's very and you can imagine what kind of complacency that can breed in a society where people kind of give up on themselves, because at the end of the day you're just going to get forgiven as long as you go back to church. And in old society, pay your 10% of your salary and go there every Sunday, but that's zero moral responsibility. You can, I've read books about places and in society in relation to the Catholic Church just 150, 200 years ago, and it will vary with the priest. Some priests feel more morally obligated to preach harsher kind of moral responsibility, but you'd get whole societies that just don't care. You do what you want. You can people would rape or have affairs with everyone's wives and whatever, and be completely dishonest people, and they get forgiven, because that's the doctrine, that's the ideology, is that no one can be perfect, and that's something that's still around today. No one's perfect, no one can be perfect, we're only human, and it's I think it's debilitating. And I'm not preaching some sort of we can do whatever, I'm not preaching some sort of unrealistic, you just have to, if you want to be, you can be a kind of overman. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we're selling ourselves short. We've kept this mentality of complacency, of that no one can be perfectly morally responsible, and it's totally stupid, because if there's anything that is not accounted for by chance, that's only up to the system that is our decision-making system. It's our own actions. That's what morality is made up of. It's about mediating your own actions. And if you can't do that, how do you want to go into the world and be a successful individual? And I think that's where it comes back home to what I'm talking about. It's responsibility, and me as a student, being responsible and working hard. How can I be successful? How can I strive to be successful in a world, in this industry that's beyond my control? I can comprehend it and apply effort, but it'll always be affected by chance opportunities, meeting the right people, getting the right jobs. It'll depend on these and that factors, external to me. How am I supposed to be successful in that if I can't even, or how are people in general supposed to be successful in something like that, or productive in society, where the factor is millions of people, when people can't even feel that they can be morally responsible for themselves, that they're dominated by some sort of nature. And I think that's maybe where the transition took place. It took place between people having this concept of original sin that you can't get rid of, and it made transition to modern society with DNA, and people saying, okay, well, I'm born a certain way, we as human beings have these genetic traits that we're stuck with, and because of that, we can't be morally responsible. There's these, we have this, human nature is a language, I think, that's been, is kind of a word that's been appropriated by this kind of, maybe a community that's those that are kind of like, by scientism. I'm not sure if I'm using the word correctly. Scientism, when you're trying to, I don't have a very good exact understanding of what scientism is. I haven't. I understand it in an intuitive sense, but that's the thing. It's been appropriated by modern ideology when I think it's a real problem. I think I really should stop this now, because I'm starting to get kind of disorganized in my delivery. But that's kind of what I'm getting at now, is that we have this notion that's come from the word human nature used to be a language, religious language, talking about Adam and Eve and original sin, and now the scientific view of human behavior in terms of DNA has appropriated the word human nature, and by kind of relegate problems to saying, oh well, it's just human nature, we can't do anything about it. And I think that's very dangerous. Whether or not it's true to a certain extent, I am willing to guarantee that it's not true to the extent that we're giving it, because I think the whole old religious institution of confession was really just this kind of laziness on our part, trying to run away from being morally responsible. I think that's the same problem that we have in modern day society. A lot of people, and it's the same thing that Sartre said, that people have a real problem accepting that my battery's almost out. Have a real problem accepting